Bust or steal? That's the first question in any offseason move. Today we preview the 2019 NFL offseason. We look at all the big trades, free agency acquisitions, and a slight preview of how the draft may play out. This is Beyond the Blitz. My name is Brandon Wells.
And I'm Justin Rogers. So today, the first thing we're going to talk about is the Antonio Brown trade. So for those of you who don't know, Antonio Brown, one of the big offseason acquisitions for the Oakland Raiders. So the Steelers traded Antonio Brown to the Oakland Raiders for a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick. So one thing we're going to talk about, okay, who won this trade?
I think that the Steelers lost the trade.
Oh, they definitely did.
I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah. I think the Raiders definitely won this trade, but also the Steelers, you could tell by what they got in return, they were desperate to just get rid of him. I think they just they view him as a cancer in the locker room. They just want him out of there. I mean, Bell's out of there too, so they feel like right now they're kind of, as far as like personalities in the locker room and everything, they're kind of at a clean slate now, and they just really wanted to get to that place. I think that's a good situation for Brown to go in. I mean, he has a pretty decent quarterback. I mean, Derek Carr's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but he does, he's had a couple good seasons before, and he's not, fit for Antonio Brown. But I think, it's not a bad team to go to. I mean, it's a rebuilding team, and they got draft picks, and John Gruden's looking towards the future, and Antonio Brown's going to be a part of that.
Do you think that Antonio Brown's going to put up the same type of production that he did when he was with Pittsburgh, though? I don't see him putting up as much, because his last season there, Juju put up better numbers than Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
He did. Antonio Brown did not look like Antonio Brown last year, and then he didn't play the last couple of games, and now he's on a completely different team. I do think that at this point in time, I do think Derek Carr is a better overall quarterback than Big Ben, simply because of Big Ben's age. Of course, Big Ben in his prime, I mean, you can't debate that.
Yeah.
But I think with a better quarterback throwing to him, the Raiders don't have too much wide receiver depth anymore. They got rid of Amari Cooper. If they saw Amari Cooper and AB playing next to each other, that would be dangerous. But Antonio Brown, I think he'll still be great for fantasy football. He is number one pick for fantasy football because he is the receiver for that team.
Yeah, I think wide receiver wise, he's number one pick for fantasy. He's gonna put up 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, like he usually does. But yeah, I don't think the same production's gonna be there. But it's just gonna be interesting, like you're saying with like Juju, like who's gonna be that number 2 wide receiver for the Raiders? Who, when people do double cover Antonio, who's gonna start getting the ball? Like I mean, Antonio's Antonio. He's gonna get the ball regardless. But
they need to draft.
Yeah.
They need to draft a receiver.
I mean, come on. They have 3 draft picks. One of them's going to have to be a wide receiver, though. I would think.
Could you see them trading up for DK?
No.
You can't see that?
No.
I could see that.
I say they stay where they are, 5, get a defensive lineman, start building up your defense through that. That's what I would do if I were the Raiders. Yeah. But so let's talk about, we talked about Le'Veon Bell leaving, and now he's a New York Jet. I don't know what exactly the contract was, but from what I've heard from NFL sources, NFL.com, Bleacher Report, that he got less money than the Steelers offered him last year. So from that, do you think he just wasn't about the money? He just wanted out of Pittsburgh, wanted to go anywhere but Pittsburgh? Or what do you think? And how do you think he's going to fit with New York?
I think that he knows he's made a mistake, but I don't think he wants to come out publicly with that. He lost a lot of money last year. Now he's making I think it's $30 to $40 million less than what he wanted. He's playing for a much worse team. Le'Veon can talk and smile all he wants, but I don't think he's happy with where he ended up. But I think at this point he just needed to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Because he knew he couldn't sit out 2 seasons, and the Jets needed a running back the most. And he knew that with the Jets he would be the most valuable player. And I think that's all Le'Veon Bell wants. I think Le'Veon Bell wants to be the star of a team. And I think with the Jets he gets exactly what he wants there. Yeah. But he knows he's not going to probably ever see a Super Bowl or a championship forever, for that matter.
Yeah.
Because the Jets just have way too many holes, more than just at the running back position. If Le'Veon Bell can stay healthy, he will be the star of this Jets team.
Yeah, I think so. But also, like we were talking about earlier before we started this podcast, the Jets have filled a lot of holes in free agency, though. I mean, getting C.J. Mosley, like that was a huge acquisition. You pretty much you got Le'Veon Bell, who's the star of your offense, who's pretty much the centerpiece of your offense, and then you just got the centerpiece of your defense, who I think is possibly the best middle linebacker, maybe besides Luke Kuechly in the NFL.
Yeah, don't disrespect Luke Kuechly now.
No.
Jones, I mean, as a Falcons fan, Deion Jones, I mean, I saw the production after he came back from injury. You have to include him in that conversation too. But C.J. Mosley, yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be the leader of that team, and I think that's what the Jets need the most on defense is a leader more than a player. And
Yeah.
C.J. Mosley can definitely provide that. And that the Bills, they're not going to the playoffs. They're not having a winning record. That's a
Yeah.
complete illusion.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But it could be the foundation for building upon that.
Right.
And with CJ's leadership, he could build up some of these younger players into maybe stepping into that leadership position as years move forward.
Right. So the Jets also got Jameson Crowder and Josh Bellamy, who was, I believe, receiver on the Chicago Bears. As far as like wide receivers, do you think that with that third overall pick, do you think you go defensive line, help out C.J. Mosley a little bit, or do you go DK Metcalf and get that star wide receiver to go along with Le'Veon Bell and the quarterback that you got last year as well?
I think the question we need to ask ourselves is DK a bust?
I've thought about that before, and I honestly don't know. I mean, I think it's comparing his combine results with his tape. I think that's really what you're gonna have to do, and I haven't really seen his tape that much. Is really like everybody else who's just surprised that a guy who is top 3 in every single category for wide receivers at the combine. You don't usually see that, so I don't know if he's worth a top 5 pick. I don't know if he's even the best wide receiver in this draft, but as far as like talking about the New York Jets, like the Jets at one point did say they were willing to trade down. So do you think trade down? What if the Raiders do want to trade up to number 3? Get somebody. If like Nick Bosa is there somehow at 3, you have a lot of teams that want to come up. Do the Jets trade down, get a couple picks, get a number 1 wide receiver?
I think if Nick Bosa is there at 3, they have to get Nick Bosa.
Oh, they have to.
They have to. If that happens, they cannot pass an opportunity up.
No.
But they still have Robbie Anderson, a receiver, and he is he is a very dangerous deep threat.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about Odell Beckham. But a receiver alone will not win you a championship game. What will win you a championship game is a defensive line. So yes, I do think that the Jets, even if Nick Bosa isn't there, I think that they need either an edge rusher or an interior defensive lineman to really complement C.J. Mosley at linebacker, and getting a good front 7, I think needs to be the New York Jets' number 1 priority.
Because you got your safety in the back, Jamal Adams, like one of the better safeties in the NFL. So I think they can do really well.
I don't care who you have a receiver. With Le'Veon Bell at running back, they're taking so much pressure off because the Jets have not had a good run game in years. And so by taking the pressure off of just having to throw the ball or nothing at all, it's going to help spread these receivers out, even some of these receivers we might not even know about. And that might open Sam Darnold up to maybe being a decent quarterback. And we saw pretty good flashes of him last year. I do think Sam Darnold is a good quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He's a dual threat. He can run, he can throw, and that's what you need. And so I don't think that they need a receiver this year.
Okay.
I think that they need to go front 7 for sure.
Yeah.
And they have Adam Gase at head coach, who, I mean, we could argue that, but I mean, Adam Gase does have coaching experience, and especially on defense.
Yeah.
So that could help bolster that at least moving forward.
Definitely. So let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers just a little bit. So we talked about how they lost Antonio Brown, lost Le'Veon Bell. They did have a couple good acquisitions. Like they got Mark Barron. I thought that was a really smart move, kind of getting somebody in case Ryan Shazier doesn't work out, which I don't think he should come back and play. Like I think he should just be a coach for the Steelers. I think that'd be awesome.
He's not playing this year.
Oh, he's definitely not playing this year. But the Steelers also got Dante Moncrief and Steven Nelson, who's a cornerback who was on the Chiefs. I think the Steelers did well enough to fill the holes temporarily. Now, I know they're starting this rebuild. Like, I know I talk to you all the time about this, and you said this is the dark ages for the Steelers for the next 10 years. Like, you say that all the time. But do you think they did well enough for at least this season to fill a couple of holes that they lost?
This Pittsburgh Steelers team is not a playoff team. They're not going to. I could see them maybe going 9-7, 8-8, which honestly is a lot better than probably their lineup would say it is. This will be Big Ben's last season, and you have an all-star receiver at Juju. I love Juju. He's a great, versatile player. They have T.J. Watt on the other side too, and yeah, they did fill some holes that they needed more for depth. No one's all-stars. You know, they're not going to split like Dante Moncrief isn't an all-star receiver, but I think like underwhelming players like Dante Moncrief, who when he came into the league, everyone thought he was going to be really good, and he's kind of very underwhelming. But if he were to succeed, I do think that this is the year he would do it. I could possibly see Moncrief putting up just under 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah.
So I do see them still being threat. I do still see them pulling a couple upsets in games that they shouldn't win. I can still definitely see them doing that. So they filled holes enough to still be a threat, but not big enough of a threat.
I think I could see, depending on what Pittsburgh does in the draft, because, I mean, you did get Steven Nelson, but I don't think that's enough to fill that void. And then you have Joe Hayden, who I think he will probably be a Steeler for the rest of his career, but with everything going on, you just don't know what's going to happen with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But in the draft, they have to go corner, or secondary. I think that's one of our holes that we need to fill. But I think they could. I think it could be one of those things where they're gonna make a push for the playoffs at the end. They're gonna be a contender. They might not make the playoffs, but I think they'll definitely be a contender at the end.
I think 9-7. That's my prediction for the Steelers team. But I do just want to say real quick. I want to give a shout out to the Steelers because I really like what they're doing. They said that they are going to pay for all of Shazir's health.
Yes.
They are paying
his health care and everything
for his contract. They're paying to buy out his contract. They're paying for his health care. I really like that. That is a very classy move, and I just want to give it a shout out to the Steelers for that move.
Yeah. Let's talk kind of about like classy moves and doing stuff that some people don't even hear of. How about the Buccaneers?
Yeah.
Signing 2 females to be on coaching staff?
The Buccaneers, as of yesterday, became the first NFL team ever to have 2 full-time female coaches. They have their assistant strength and conditioning coach is a female, and their assistant defensive line coach is actually also a female.
That's awesome.
And so, again, that doesn't speak on how good they are, but just the fact that happened.
Yeah.
It is a pretty cool move that, they're looking at all places for coaches, as I think all teams should.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters, like, what gender you are. If you're good at what you do, like, it shouldn't matter, like, if you're a male or female. Like, if you're a good, like, strength coach or you're good at coaching defensive line, it doesn't matter what gender you are. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to Bruce Arians, we saw he did this with the Cardinals and now doing it with the Bucs here. Like, yeah, kudos to him.
Bruce Arians is the best possible coaching decision the Bucs could have had.
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
But losing Quan Alexander's big. Losing
yeah.
him is big.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's talk about the Bucs a little bit then. So they had like barely any money coming into free agency, and
I think the second lowest.
I think it was the lowest.
It was something like that.
I think it was the lowest coming in
It
because they re-signed Donovan Smith to a 3-year deal, $41.25 million, according to NFL.com. And I think that put them in a hole a little bit. But, like, some of their acquisitions they got Deion Buchanan, which he's already played with Bruce Arians before, so I think he could do pretty well. And then Shaq Barrett, like, that's not a bad acquisition either. So with the little money they had, I thought they did pretty well getting acquisitions. I don't think this is going to be a playoff year for them, but definitely, like, next couple of years, I could see the Bucs being a team.
Yeah, I mean, we've said that about the Bucs every year for like the last 5 years. We can't look too much into it. But it's still Bruce Arians' first year on this team. That doesn't tend to always be an explosive season.
Oh, yeah.
It could be a call for the future, but then you're going to be saying this about the Bucs for a long time.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Don't look too much into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about Quan Alexander for a little bit, so I just want to transfer over to the 49ers right now because that's where Quan Alexander went. Quan Alexander is a great linebacker. He's a good linebacker. He's solid. He's tough. He has a couple injury problems, but he's still a really tough player. But, this 49ers team,
their defense improved immensely.
They're getting Garoppolo back, so that'll help a lot. Quan Alexander, he's there. D Ford from the Chiefs is now a 49er.
And I want to kind of transition a little bit, to the other side of the ball a little bit. I saw Tevin Coleman. Do you think he's the number 1 running back?
He wasn't.
I mean, you're a Falcons fan, so you would know.
Well, Freeman was injured last year, and Tevin Coleman I thought was very underwhelming. Tevin Coleman is one of the best backup, versatile running backs in the NFL. Behind someone who gets the bulk of snaps, Tevin Coleman is very, very explosive. However, when he's the player getting most of the snaps, and especially if he's behind a bad offensive line like the 49ers have, don't see Tevin Coleman putting up more than 650 yards this season.
Really? So you think it'd be better if he just split time with Jared McKinnon?
I think you have to. Tevin Coleman, he does not get the bulk of the carries. If he splits time with Jared McKinnon, possibly even sit behind him on the line, he'll be more productive for that team because he is a good running back, but he's just not good in bulk.
Yeah. They also got Jason Verrett on corner. What do you think about that acquisition? Because when he has played in the NFL, he's had good, productive seasons, but the last 2 seasons, he's only played 1 game. So there's a risk-reward. And you're getting him for, like, almost nothing, really. A 1-year deal, $3.6 million.
That's nothing.
Yeah, and according to NFL.com, that pretty much is nothing. So, do you think it's worth
I like it. I like him in a 49ers uniform. I could see him playing balls out. I could see him possibly going back to what we saw from him a couple years ago.
I could see that.
I do like that acquisition for sure.
So, you think you could see the 49ers defense of old when they went to the Super Bowl against the Ravens?
Be careful. Be careful now. No. They'll be good. They will not be top 5.
Yeah,
maybe
in a couple years.
Top 10, but not top 5.
But in a couple years, you could see it though.
And if they keep going on the path they're going on, sure. But they still
Yeah.
have a long way to go.
Oh yeah.
They need a front 7 still.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, I think, the biggest trade that has happened: Odell Beckham to the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns get Odell Beckham, and the New York Giants, they get a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and they also get, who is the safety they got? Jabril Peppers. We talked about this a little bit last night in the broadcast. Let's just go over it again. What do you think about this trade? Who won?
Unpopular opinion. Both teams won this trade. I said a little bit earlier we were going to revisit it. I'm revisiting it. A receiver will not win you a championship. Receivers are amazing to have, and they're great to have on a championship team, but a receiver alone will not win you a championship. I think the Giants realize that. They don't have a great quarterback. Eli, this is going to be his last year. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. They have to go quarterback this draft. We can talk about that a little bit later. But Odell was the only true star on that team aside from Saquon, and they also lost Landon Collins, so that's also big for the Giants as well. They got a first-round draft pick, which is the most you could have gotten out of him. Like that's
good.
Great. Odell Beckham, he's been a distraction more than anything because the Giants have not been a playoff team for a couple of years, and Odell Beckham has just been a drama queen, seeking attention. And I think getting rid of him is actually a good thing. And getting what they did for him, they also safety and Jabril Peppers, because when you enter a rebuilding mode, the two things you need are good draft picks and defensive players, and they got both these things from these trades.
Yep.
On the other hand, on the Cleveland Browns side, what do they need? They need explosive players. Who is Odell Beckham? One of the most explosive players in the NFL. When you put Odell Beckham, that's a Jarvis Landry again, like they have been before. They have chemistry together. They will work great together. They will help each other get open.
Yep.
And Baker Mayfield, who is entering his second season, last season he was the best rookie quarterback in the league.
Yep.
Out of a pretty good quarterback class too. And then you have Kareem Hunt's only suspended half the season, so he's coming back. And then you have Nick Chubb, who in any other season would have been the best rookie of the draft.
Yeah.
The Browns' offense is scary, and getting Odell Beckham Jr. was the best possible thing they could have done. And giving up that first-round draft pick for them, I don't feel like hurts them, because they have had 24 first-round draft picks, I think, since 2014.
Right.
Is that right? That's just kind of off the top of my head, no source for that. But something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's first and second round, not just first.
Yeah.
But so losing this first round pick, it doesn't hurt them too much, but it does help the Giants equally. And helping the Giants doesn't hurt the Browns either, because they're in different conferences.
Right.
So this is a win-win trade for both teams.
Yeah. I mean, the Cleveland Browns, so what else they've done in the offseason? They shored up that defensive line. I will say that. Sheldon Richardson and Olivier Vernon. Man, the Browns like to make trades with the Giants. Yeah, they do. And I think they can make the playoffs this year. I think, we were talking about a lot of these teams, they're making, the 49ers, and we were also talking about, the Raiders and a lot of these teams that are making pretty good acquisitions. I think the Browns are that one team. They've been making these acquisitions slowly but surely for so long that they just needed that one guy. And I think the fact that Odell Beckham is coming in surrounded by a bunch of talent, with Antonio Callaway, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, a pretty decent offensive line, like you were talking about, a good quarterback, and a good set of running backs in the back end. I think that offense could be a top 10 offense, maybe even top 5 offense. But
I would be surprised if they weren't.
Yeah, I just don't want to put too much on Baker. I mean, he's a good quarterback, and we saw he took a Browns team that was 0-16 the year before and brought them to 7-8-1, right? So 7-8-1, I think that was the record.
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah, 7, and that's a huge feat for the Cleveland Browns. So I think he could do it again, but it's just how much pressure are we really putting on the Cleveland Browns? I just don't want them to be like Jaguars team. We expect them to go and be number 2 seed, number 1 seed, or whatever, one of the division, and then they're a top 10 pick in the draft next year. So you don't want to put too much pressure on a team, but also with all this talent they have, it just has to mesh. And if it doesn't mesh, what are you going to do?
Aside from Patrick Mahomes, I don't think any player in the NFL has more to prove this season than Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah.
So Mayfield, it's all resting on his shoulders. The Browns' future is on Mayfield's shoulders. The Browns did a great thing hiring Freddie Kitchens, an inside hire for their head coach, which is the best thing they could have done, in my opinion, because you can't have a young quarterback like Mayfield learning all these different systems. So that's a great thing that they did. But other than that, the natural fan base is giving the Browns so much pressure, and I'm going to relieve that pressure a little bit. Cleveland, I don't expect you to be a Super Bowl contender this year.
Yeah.
I do expect you to be contending for that first seed in your not first seed, but
Winning the division.
winning the division. Yes, I do see them very well compete with Baltimore. My prediction is that the winner of that division goes 11-5.
Okay.
And it could be either one between the Ravens and the Browns. The Ravens have done a couple of good things, a couple bad things. It's been a back and forth offseason for them, so I could still see them winning that division. Because Cleveland, yes, they have almost as many stars on their team as any of the great teams in the league. They have young players, cheap players. They have a lot of cap space still in contracts, like long contracts still for these young, good players.
Yeah.
And that's good for Cleveland. And so this season, I could see them going to the playoffs. I do think they'll be one and done in the playoffs. I don't expect them to win a playoff game.
Okay.
But however, next season, maybe even the season after that, next 3 years or so, I do see Cleveland contending for that Super Bowl spot. Because looking at the roster on paper, there was no reason to argue against that.
You know, this what kind of reminds me of? Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
A little bit. Remember a couple years ago when they were playing, the Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson, not he did win his rookie year against the Redskins, then loses, and then second year comes back, wins the Super Bowl. Now, I don't think it's going to be like that, but I do think that it's going to be that kind of like next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be contender every single year.
Well, we saw a lot, especially the first half of last season, the Browns need a kicker. That's one thing they didn't do this offseason. They didn't get a solid kicker. So I am worried that still might hurt Cleveland in close games like that because they lost a lot of really close games at the end of the game because of their kicker, and I could see that still happening. They're going to every game this season, they will be in it. They will not lose by more than 2 scores.
Well, I think that was the same thing this past season.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Cleveland they're going to compete in every game they're in.
Yeah.
And so the kicker and Freddie Kitchens, first year head coaches just don't win championships.
Yeah.
And so I think that we'll see exactly how his coaching style works with Cleveland's interior. But I do like the hire. I do see him succeeding, but we'll see again because change sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit ago about Landon Collins leaving the Giants, but where did he go? Washington. So he went to the Washington Redskins, a 6-year deal, $84 million according to NFL.com. Is it worth it? Worth that huge contract to get somebody in the back, pretty much be the quarterback of your defense? What do you think?
The one thing I liked about the Washington Redskins in the first half of last season before everyone and their brother got injured on that team, I did see the Redskins being good. Especially, I like their defense. You know, Ryan Kerrigan, he's a great linebacker, one of the best outside linebackers in the league. I do think. Get Landon Collins at safety is one of the best things I think they could have done. I wish they got him for a little bit cheaper because they'd spent...
That's a lot of money.
They spent more money than you should on the safety.
Yeah.
But Landon Collins, you know, he's loudly and proudly said how excited he is for this opportunity. He's wearing Sean Taylor's number, which could argue that because Sean Taylor's Landon Collins' hero. He's been saying he's wearing his number to like honor him, but controversy going back and like that might be disrespecting him. But that's a whole other conversation still. But, you know, Landon Collins has said that he's going to play as hard as he possibly can for the Redskins, and I do think we will see him produce more than we have ever seen him on the Giants. I think Landon Collins will very well be a top 2 safety this year.
Okay, I can see it.
I think he's going to be an amazing safety for the Redskins. You know, they have holes to fill. Case Keenum is not their future quarterback.
No.
AP is not their future running back. Neither is Chris Thompson. They're both good running backs, but AP is old. Chris Thompson is like Tevin Coleman, not good in bulk.
All right, let's talk. Just this came to mind. So Darius Geis getting hurt last year. He's coming back, and from videos that I've seen, he can sprint now.
True.
Do you think he's going to be a top 10 running back this season?
Top 10, guys?
Yeah, top 10.
No.
I don't know. Well, okay, if that offensive line can stay healthy, I could see it. Because I think Redskins have one of the better offensive lines, maybe top 15, top 10 offensive lines in the NFL when they're healthy.
Their starters, sure,
when they're
they
healthy.
don't have depth. If one of them goes down, they're screwed.
That's true.
Need depth.
Yeah, they do need depth. Yeah.
The peanut guy out there playing offensive line for them last year.
Yeah. They did sign Eric Flowers, which isn't like the best, but I mean a decent backup. Like, you know, not too bad if like Morgan Moses goes down. I mean, they're shoring it up a little bit. But yeah, if you're the Redskins, you know, maybe the draft might be that place. Not like first, second round, but maybe like third, fourth round. Get some guys.
I think 4th, 5th round is their time to get offensive line. They need depth, not starters. They need depth, and so that's a good spot to get it in. I think that they need to consider getting a quarterback in the draft. I would love to see Will Greer go to Washington. I could see him being a great fit with the Redskins.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the best fit for Will Greer.
Yeah.
If Keenum is going to start the season, so whoever they draft is going to be sitting behind Keenum at least one season.
Yeah. I think this is what I say about the Case Keenum trade. I think that Case Keenum to me is a wild card every year. He's either going to do really well or he's not going to do that well.
If you think about it,
If
he
he,
only had one good season, and that was
yeah,
Minnesota, and he
and
was the third string starting the season.
yeah, I think if he does really well this season, that's going to look like the best trade, like one of the better trades in NFL history. If he actually pans out, because they gave up nothing for him, and they're paying half his salary. Broncos are paying his other half.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yep.
We also said the same thing about Brock Osweiler when a couple years ago.
Oh, when he got traded to the Browns.
Look what happened there. So, it was to the Texans originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got traded to the Browns for just
he's getting paid more by the Broncos and Texans than he was with the Browns while he was playing for the Browns.
Right.
So I thought that was funny. But yeah, I'd see too much Brock Osweiler in this situation, and I don't see Keenum succeeding with the Redskins. Because of that, their offense is just still a little underwhelming to me.
But also with the Redskins getting Case Keenum, it's not really that much of a risk. You're not really giving that much up. See if he can possibly do well, be a good bridge quarterback. You're not really giving that much up for him, so I think it's a pretty good trade.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the team that I think that at least got like the most players in free agency and made a lot of noise with some surprising players that they got, the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley and John Brown, two of the best free agent wide receivers, I will say, free agent wide receivers in this free agent class.
Cole Beasley was one of the few players I was like scrolling through my Facebook news feed, and then I saw breaking Cole Beasley's now a Bill, and that was one of the few things like I dropped my mouth open to. I was like, what? Like Cole Beasley's one of those players I couldn't imagine in any other jersey
except for Dallas.
It's like he was just such a Dallas Cowboy, and he's a great receiver. Like I think Cole Beasley is one of the most underrated receivers in the league.
You think he's one of the better, if not best, slot receiver in the NFL?
Absolutely. He's the best slot receiver in the NFL. Quote me on that.
Really? So you think he's better than Jarvis Landry, better than Julian Edelman?
All right. You proved me wrong.
Come on now.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, he's top. I can say Beasley top 5. Like top 5 slot receiver?
Okay, yeah.
I could possibly see that. I think he played well for Dallas.
No one's better than Juice
I think
in the slot.
I think Cole Beasley is to Dak Prescott as Jason Witten was to Tony Romo. He was that security blanket for Dak Prescott. I think he could possibly be that for Josh Allen. I think I can definitely see that. But also, you're the Buffalo Bills. You signed 2 slot receivers, Cole Beasley and John Brown. Like, I think John Brown's a slot receiver. I think
they might try to make John Brown a deep threat.
They could. I can see it. But I just...
They might try to make him more of a Deshaun Jackson type player.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the return man, too.
They also signed Andre Roberts, who kick returner last year, went to the Pro Bowl for the Jets and made a couple good plays for them. So I think, a lot of decent moves for the Bills. I think, they had a lot of money and they're like, yeah, let's just spend it. Let's go out and do that. And
I really like this Cole Beasley acquisition for the Bills because with a struggling quarterback like Josh Allen, he needs that safety blanket. He needs that, and Cole Beasley is a great safety blanket. And so if Josh Allen is going to learn how to play as an NFL quarterback, I think getting a good slot receiver is the way to do it. That's how you train a young quarterback to be successful in the NFL, is to give him that safety blanket. Yeah. And that's what also you have situations where quarterbacks who learned like that young can't get away from it, like Dak. They get stuck in that, I have the safety blanket, let's throw it to him, and then you get 4 yards on a 3rd and 8, and you have so it's really risk-reward type thing there, but I do like Cole Beasley. I like that acquisition.
Let's talk about the team that lost Cole Beasley. Let's talk about the Cowboys a little bit and their acquisitions. They re-signed Jason Witten. I mean, he came out of retirement. They put a tag on DeMarcus Lawrence, and they re-signed Tavon Austin, and they got Randall Cobb. What do you think about their acquisitions as far as maybe not like replacing Cole Beasley, but maybe do you think Randall Cobb could be that number 2 wide receiver behind, a good threat right behind Amari Cooper? What do you think?
I think Randall Cobb has always been a
good number 2.
As number 2. Yeah. He was number 2 with Jordy. He was number 2 with Devontae. Now he's number 2 with Amari. And I mean, he will be the number 2. And Randall Cobb is dangerous in open field. But I think overall, this Cowboys offseason has been very underwhelming.
It's been quiet.
They haven't filled the spots that they needed, I don't think, as well as they should have.
Yeah.
Jason Witten, I don't think is going to play more than 30% of the snaps this year. He's old. He just spent a year off announcing in a booth, so I don't think he was very physically active and trying to get in shape again. I think it was a very split decision where it was like, he woke up and was like, football! So... I don't see Witten playing more than 30% of the snaps. I do think Witten will be a great leader on this team. He's always been more of that coaching type, leader type of guy, more than the great, strong player he used to be. DeMarcus Lawrence franchising tagging him, not losing him is key. Not losing DeMarcus Lawrence was huge.
Yeah.
They lost him. Dallas is on a huge downslope. So getting that franchise tag on DeMarcus Lawrence is smart.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Cowboys have done enough to win that division next year. I think that it'll be between the Eagles and Washington.
Wow, Washington. I think the I don't think the Eagles have a slam dunk, but with Washington, their quarterback situation, and I don't think the Eagles will stay as close to Washington. And it all depends if Carson Wentz is healthy. I think that's the number one thing with the Eagles. Let's talk about the Eagles a little bit.
I can't wrap my head around this one. Why would they send Michael Bennett to the Patriots? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why would anyone trade anyone to the Patriots? Don't stop giving Patriots players. Stop giving Bill Belichick power. I don't care if he wants I don't care if he's like, hey, give me that dollar bill, like $1, and here's Tom Brady. No, you don't do that because with that dollar bill, he's going to draft the world's best football player no one's ever going to hear of him. Stop giving the Patriots football players. And Michael Bennett is the perfect fit for New England, and I hate it so much.
Oh man.
I don't know why the Eagles did that, but
they only got a
They
got a 5th round pick for him. Like any other team, but the Patriots. Like it's so funny. The Patriots. You know what's so funny? The Patriots are having a quiet offseason until this.
Patriots always have a quiet offseason. That's what the Patriots do.
Like, listen to who they had.
The Michael Bennett trade was very low key. It's like I keep forgetting it happened, and I keep looking. It was like
Here who they signed and re-signed: Terrence Brooks as safety, Philip Dorsett, Bruce Ellington a wide receiver, Jason McCourty they re-signed him, and John Simon an edge rusher. They re-signed.
They also lost Cordell Patterson.
They did. He went to Chicago, so he might do well. Like I think he could, but again, with a lot of players who play other places, but then come to New England, do a great job there, and then leave, that's not always usually some success. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of season he has.
I do love seeing Deshaun Jackson back in the Eagles jersey.
Oh,
that
man.
Is where Deshaun Jackson belongs. He's always succeeded the most.
Oh, yeah. I think
with a dual threat like Wentz, if Wentz can stay healthy, which I don't believe he can, I think that the Eagles messed up by getting rid of Foles. I think that they should have gotten rid of Wentz instead.
Really?
Wentz is a great quarterback when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. He can't stay healthy. He's just like a young RG3. RG3 was great his rookie year, then he got injured. And I think that Carson Wentz is pretty much a more seasoned version of that. He's a great player that's played by injuries, and he's going to get stuck in that loop until eventually he just has to stop playing football. And Nick Foles, he won them a Super Bowl. He took them to the playoffs last year. Like, the Eagles they had a losing record when Foles stepped in last year, and then he still went to the playoffs. Foles, he might not be better than Wentz as a quarterback, but Foles wins. He wins games. That's what Foles does. So I don't like Wentz as their starting quarterback. I like Wentz as a player. I don't like him as their starting quarterback in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But, with Deshaun Jackson, I mean, that deep threat is always nice to have.
Yeah, that's true. I think if Wentz stays healthy, I think the Eagles they'll win the division. They could be a top 2. They could get a bye. Yeah, but like you were saying, it all depends if he's healthy. And now, if you're the Eagles, what are you going to do as your backup quarterback? Like Nate Sudfeld?
No.
Have fun. Like, yeah. So
6th round draft pick, maybe?
Right. So let's talk about we talked about the Cowboys a little bit earlier. Let's talk about the team that beat them in the playoffs this year, New Orleans Saints. I think the strides that they made, I think Teddy Bridgewater re-signing them, that was a smart move on his part. What do you think about Teddy Bridgewater re-sign?
I think Teddy Bridgewater's a great football player. I've always said that, I like Teddy as a quarterback, but I don't like him as a Saint because I don't like the Saints. So
Oh man, in my opinion, okay, so they're not in my division, so I can be non-biased as much as possible. So I think so.
I cannot talk about the Saints without being biased. So
I think that Teddy Bridgewater made a smart move. I mean, he had a larger deal with Miami, but also like Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is still possibly in his prime, like as far as playing.
Drew
Like
Brees
he's
has
got a
never
couple
left the
years.
prime.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
is
that's
just
true.
prime.
That's true. But I think Teddy Bridgewater should stay and be the backup and take over the Saints eventually. I think that'd be a good fit for him and a great place to be. But let's talk about some other acquisitions they had. Jared Cook is expected to sign with the Saints.
Yeah.
A nice tight end threat, probably the best tight end they've had since Jimmy Graham.
Absolutely, that's not
So,
debatable.
I mean, obviously, this is gonna make their offense a whole lot better.
Brees
What do you?
loves throwing to strong tight ends.
Yeah, he
And
does.
Jared Cook is a strong tight end.
Mm-hmm. And then they got rid of Mark Ingram, but they did sign Latavius Murray.
It's a downgrade.
It is a downgrade, but also you already have Alvin Kamara, so you're just looking for a good like backup, a good tandem. So I think, it's a pretty good. It's not an upgrade, but a pretty good replacement, I would think, for Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I do like Mark Ingram as a Raven.
Yeah, let's talk about the Ravens a little bit.
Ravens is a very interesting back and forth team. They very very hard to evaluate the Ravens right now.
They got rid of the glue of their defense, and then you go out and you get Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas, I think, is top 3 safety.
I think it's an upgrade.
You think it's an upgrade? I think it's an upgrade from Eric Weddle. Defense-wise, C.J. Mosley I think he was their defense. He's nothing compared to Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis.
To keep C.J. Mosley and still bring in Earl Thomas, they would have the most scary defense in the NFL.
Yeah, they would.
Like, hands down. If those two on the same team together, you could not throw in the middle.
Yeah.
You just, if you were playing the Ravens and they had both those players, just forget about the middle of the field.
Yeah.
But
so what are you gonna do for the quarterback of your defense at middle linebacker if you're the Ravens? You just got rid of your best player on defense. What are you gonna do?
Who is their backup?
I have no idea. I can check real quick.
Well, they wouldn't have let a player like C.J. Mosley go.
Walk.
Like that.
Without a game plan.
They traded him.
No, they didn't. They let him walk.
They did? I thought they traded him.
No, they let him walk.
Oh. Well, still the same thing goes. They wouldn't have done that recklessly, that soon, without having a game plan of some sort. So they must either be eyeballing someone in the draft, or have been talking to someone, or have been coaching a younger player that's on their team up a little bit, or maybe moving around players to move to that position. I don't see them doing that without a game plan, because the Ravens have been known for like the last 20 years of having a great defense.
So right now, their number 1 middle linebacker is Chris Board. I don't know who he is.
I don't know who he is either.
Yeah. So, but I think
I don't think that they would have done this if he wasn't a good player. So maybe we will know who that guy is Monday.
That's true. But also, yeah, I think the draft could be a place. I mean, you have a couple good middle linebackers. Maybe they trade up. You never know. They have a couple good middle linebackers they could trade up for.
But then again, why is Lamar Jackson a starting quarterback in the NFL? He's
okay. If you're talking like this, how do you think the Ravens are going to go 11-5?
Because of their defense. I think that defense is scary. Mark Ingram is a good running back, and Lamar Jackson. I mean,
he can do enough.
He's literally Cam Newton. Because I don't think Cam Newton's a great quarterback either. But I mean, they still went 15-1 one year.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
It wasn't because of Cam Newton, even though he had an MVP season. I will argue this all day long. Cam Newton is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, and that MVP season was not him. His numbers were not him. It's just his team.
Yeah.
And I think the Ravens are going to be the same. They have a great team around them. I think that their offense will struggle a little bit, but their defense will hold them to low-scoring games, and I do think that the unpredictability of Lamar Jackson could win them a couple close games and win when it matters.
Yeah.
But between the Ravens and the Browns, I would pick the Browns.
Yeah.
But
right
I
now.
Still think that the Ravens have a shot. Because, again, I think Earl Thomas is scary.
Yeah.
I could see him getting at least 6 pick sixes this season.
Let's talk about... So we talked about Eric Weddle. He went to the Rams. The Los Angeles Rams.
Can we talk about how they unlocked the cheat code for unlimited cap space? They have no cap space, I swear. None. Doesn't matter.
And they re-signed. The moves that they made, the Rams, like, man, like they upgrade a little bit, like from their defense before. They re-signed Dante Fowler, got Clay Matthews. Now Clay Matthews is
A leader.
he's a
He's just
leader,
like what I said about Jason Witten. He's not as explosive as a player as he used to be,
but he's a good leader.
He can coach.
And then you get Eric Weddle, and then you sign Blake Bortles to contract, and
a lot of people see, this is my thing with that. A lot of people are like, why do they sign Blake Bortles? Why? He's not good. It's like, no, he's not good as a starter.
He's a good backup, though.
Yeah, he's not good at playing 16 games a season. And if Jared Goff goes down week 1, may God have mercy on the Rams' soul. May Sean McVay figure it out. But Blake Bortles will not take a team to a championship.
But if anyone could figure it out, Sean McVay could figure it out with Blake Bortles. If anybody could. He did with Jared Goff. And Jared Goff, like...
I think Bruce Arians could do that, too.
Oh, I think...
Bruce Arians has always coached with nothing.
I think Bruce Arians can do it with Jameis Winston. Absolutely. Yeah. I think he can do that. Maybe not this season, but next couple seasons. But...
Really? See, yeah, Blake Bortles, he's a good backup because he has many years of starting experience. He is still a veteran. He knows the game of football. He's not a starter, but he's great as a backup. If, let's say late in the season, the Rams, let's say the records, there's 3 games left and they've only lost like 3 or 4 games. So they're in very good playoff position, and Jared Goff is like a shoulder irritation or whatever, and like they know they're in the playoffs and they don't want to risk him getting injured for the playoffs. They're like, all right, Jared, we're going to sit you for 2 weeks. And so we're going to put Bortles in. I think that Bortles could very well win those 2 games that Jared Goff sits out because he does have the veteran experience. He's been waiting for a chance to play for a good team like this for a while. I think that Bortles in that kind of situation could be just the player they need. And that's why I think this was a good pickup for the Rams. I do think Blake Bortles is top 3 backup quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He can do exactly what he needs to do in certain positions.
Yeah. Talking about first-round draft picks that haven't really worked out, one of them, Ryan Tannehill, got traded to the Tennessee Titans. And it looks like he got traded he got traded along with the 6th-round pick in exchange for a 7th and a 4th-round pick, both 2019 7th-round pick, 2020 4th-round pick, according to NFL.com. Do you think Tannehill has a shot at this QB job, or is it definitely Mariota's?
It's definitely Mariota's, but that's not to say if Mariota has a bad season. Mariota, again, very injury prone. That's not going to say that if Mariota is having a bad sustained stretch and they want to try something new out because it's not working, that they wouldn't bench Mariota for Tannehill. I could see them maybe switching back and forth throughout the season. Yeah. But I do think when healthy, Mariota is a great quarterback, but he very much struggles with that, and he makes bad decisions at horrible times. Mm-hmm. And if they have a bad stretch, then I could very well see them benching Mariota at least for a couple of games. Yeah. For Tannehill and just trying it out to see how it works. But I
think it's a smart trade.
Yeah, I think just like the Bortles saying, I think Tannehill. I think he is officially the best backup quarterback in the NFL. Because Foles is no longer a backup, and so Tannehill has even more veteran experience. It's just like what we talked about with Blake Bortles, except I think Tannehill's a much better player than Blake Bortles. Yeah. I did like him, especially, not last couple of years, but Tannehill, he used to be actually pretty good.
Oh, before he got hurt?
Yeah. He was actually pretty good.
He was a decent quarterback.
But I do think to start the season, Mariota is hands down the starter, but we'll see how it goes down the stretch.
Yeah. Let's talk about the team that got rid of him, the Miami Dolphins. No quarterback. They signed Ryan. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, and yes, like you're gonna say, the only team that truly needs a quarterback going into the draft. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I say, is a top 5 backup. I can say that. Not a starter, but I can say he's a good bridge quarterback for whoever you're bringing in. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's probably the most difficult player in the NFL to analyze. Especially after this last season. Right? I cannot accurately analyze Ryan Fitzpatrick. But let me just say this. If the Dolphins find themselves in a position where they need... I think what they need to do is get another good quarterback. Another at least average quarterback.
A Will Grier.
What I want to see them do, put Ryan Fitzpatrick in for the first 2 quarters, bench him at halftime, and then put their other quarterback in. He is one of the most explosive quarterbacks I've ever seen, but his problem is he's too explosive. Does horrible, horrible things late in late situations. But early on, when he first steps onto the field, it's electricity.
Yeah.
But then that electricity, you start seeing where the currents are going. You can step on the wire before the current finishes where it's going, and that's where Ryan Fitzpatrick is.
Right.
He's a great player in small bursts.
Yeah. For the Dolphins, you really have to start whoever you get a quarterback surrounding him. You really have to start surrounding him. I mean, they re-signed Devontae Parker, which I think is decent. Like I think he's a decent number 1, maybe more of a number 2. But then you have Kenyon Drake, who I think is a pretty decent running back in the NFL. But then what else?
I agree.
What else do you have though? I can't even think. Like they had Danny Amendola, but he left and now he's a Detroit Lion. So like if we're talking about get this quarterback. But if you get a quarterback, what are you surrounding him with?
I could see the Dolphins finishing as a bottom 30 offense.
Yeah.
This offense is going to be very underwhelming. I think they have a decent defense, and they always somehow give a Patriots a fight at home.
Yeah.
And so there's always that one interesting game that the Dolphins show up for.
Yeah.
I do like Kenyon Drake. But
yeah.
There's just not much more to say about the Dolphins. They're just, I could see them possibly getting the first draft pick next year.
Top 5. I could see a top 5. All right, so let's start to end this podcast and be on the Blitz here.
It's time for way too early predictions.
So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to do wild cards or anything, just division winners. We're only going to do division winners. All right, let's start in the AFC, okay? AFC North. We kind of already talked about it. You were talking about Ravens, Browns. What do you got going?
All right.
Right now.
Browns. I think, like I said earlier, 11-5, Cleveland, 1 and done the playoffs. I could see the Ravens sneaking in at 10-6 with the wild card spot. Also going 1 and done.
I can see Browns, only Browns. Ravens won't make playoffs this year.
You don't think so?
Nope. I don't know.
See,
I can't see it.
I'd want to agree with you, but I can't rule them out.
Because of their defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Defense wins championships. They're not going to win a championship.
Right.
But they're going to win enough games, I think, to maybe sneak in as a wild card.
All right.
Cleveland wins that division.
This one's pretty easy division, AFC East.
Do we have to say it?
No. Like, do we even have to say... Okay, let's just skip. Yes, Patriots are going to win that division. Okay.
Patriots. No, the Jets.
Jets win that.
16-0. Stuns the world as Super Bowl champions.
Oh, come on. You're not going to say the Miami Dolphins? Come on now.
I can't contradict myself like that. I just talked about how they're going first draft pick.
All right, let's talk about the AFC South. Who do you got winning the AFC South just out the top of your head, first team?
Texans.
I have Colts. Colts just got Justin Houston. And they have a pretty decent offensive line. And Andrew Luck was on fire last year, and he could come back and do well this year. I got Colts.
I agree. I agree with you. That's so hard. Both of those teams are making the playoffs 100%.
Yeah.
Again, the Texans can't win a playoff game, so they will be 1 and done.
Yeah.
They cannot win a playoff game.
Yeah. All right. AFC West. Is this one easy? Were you just going to say Chiefs, or do you got another team?
Chargers.
Really?
The Chiefs have lost people. They've lost too many. The defense is still bad.
Yeah.
They lost Eric Berry and D Ford.
And Justin Houston.
Houston.
They lost a lot on defense, yeah.
Arguably 3 best defensive players.
Yeah.
And they got Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, which is a great pickup. But, they don't have Kareem Hunt anymore. And now Tyreek Hill's undergoing these child abuse allegations.
There
are
are
rumors going on right now that he's not even be on the team next year. And if that happens, they're definitely not.
No.
So
right.
there's just too much going on with the Chiefs right now for me to accurately say that they're going to win that division.
Yeah.
I like the Chargers. I think that they've done enough to just have what they had last year.
Yep.
But just improve on it a little bit.
Yeah. I'll agree with you. Chargers right there. All right, let's transition right here. NFC North.
NFC North, the Bears.
You got Bears?
No
I got
argument.
Bears too.
Yeah, no argument with that. The Packers.
I could see another NFC North team possibly making the playoffs, but not win the division.
I can't see that.
You can't see it?
No, the Vikings.
Packers lost too much.
Are too inconsistent. The Packers have lost way too much, and I'm not going to waste my time about the Lions.
All right, let's go NFC East.
NFC.
You talked about 2 teams,
East.
Eagles, Redskins. Who you got?
Eagles.
Yep, I'll agree with you there. Eagles. Redskins are too inconsistent.
That is barring Carson Wentz.
Yes.
If Carson Wentz goes down at all, I don't care if it's week 16, if he goes down at all throughout the season, it's going to give the Redskins what they need to move on. If, again, they can stay healthy. Last season, that was their problem. I don't see that happening 2 seasons in a row. So, the Eagles win if Wentz is healthy throughout the whole season.
You know what? I'll go surprise and say Cowboys win it again.
What? Cowboys?
Yeah.
Cowboys? They know Cowboys don't make the playoffs. Cowboys.
I'm just gonna go wild prediction here, okay? There's gotta be at least one every podcast have these wild predictions. These are already wild because they're way too early. Like Cleveland Browns probably gonna go 0-16. No, that's not gonna happen. But still, all right. Let's go to next division, NFC South. Your division, man. Who you got?
I mean,
Don't say Falcons.
I'm
Come
gonna say
on now.
Falcons.
No.
I can talk about this.
No. No.
So no, the Falcons' problems last year, defensive injuries.
Okay,
Of
injuries.
course, played, but coaching, that was another big thing. We fired offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator, all three of them. Clean house. We brought in Dirk Koetter as offensive coordinator, who used to work with Matt Ryan in Atlanta with Mike Smith as head coach. So he knows the system very well. He knows how the team works. So the offense is not going to have that down period, which most teams usually have when getting new coaches, because they're already going to know the system. Matt Ryan's going to know exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And that's when Matt Ryan works best, is when he's comfortable. And he is comfortable with Coach Koetter. DQ is taking over head coach. He's also taken over the defensive coordinator position, which what he did with Seattle, he's proven with the Legion of Boom that he can coach defense. He's doing that. And the defense will be healthy next year. We're getting depth on the offensive line this offseason, no one big names. We franchise tagged Grady Jarrett, which is what we needed up front. I think if we go defensive tackle first round, really improve our front seven, and if Keanu Neal and Deion Johnson stay healthy, they'll coach up that defense and we'll be a top 10 defense with a top 3 offense. And I can see us going 11-5.
I like the Saints too much, dude. I like the Saints way too much in that division. I think Drew Brees, like you said, he's still in his prime, and I think he can definitely lead. I'd say, like, depending on what the schedule, if you're the NFL, you're making a schedule, please make the last game of the season Falcons Saints, because that's probably what it's going to come down to.
Usually always Falcons and Saints last game.
Yeah, that's what
Is that a lot?
That would be great to see that. It's going to come down to the end of the season.
I could very well see 2, 3, 4 lost teams playing against each other, the Falcons and Saints, in the last week.
Yeah.
The winner of that game goes on. The winner of that game will be whoever plays at home.
Yep.
I could see the Saints win our division. I do think both Falcons and Saints will be in the playoffs. But you're right. I could see the Saints win our division next year.
All right.
I think that Falcons are going to go deep in the playoffs.
All right.
And that's just not just biased. I believe that.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about the West, NFC West.
Yep, we're about to right now. NFC West. Who you got?
Rams.
Yeah.
Easily.
That's not.
All right.
You think anybody else in the NFC West will make the playoffs? Not even Seahawks?
Seahawks might make the playoffs. All right, let me think about it real quick.
Because you got the Seahawks, you got 49ers. No, you're not even play. Okay, and then Cardinals.
Maybe get the 49ers another year, but not this year.
And Cardinals aren't rebuilding, dude.
Thinking it'll be between the Redskins / Eagles and the Seahawks for that 6th seed. Because I think the Falcons and Saints are going to split the playoffs there in that division. And so it's going to be between the Seahawks and then another NFC East team.
Yeah.
For that 6th spot. So I could see them. But the Rams will win that division for sure. They've just improved their team at a Super Bowl team. And I think I could see them go back to the Super Bowl. But then again...
Do you possibly see like a team just come out of nowhere, just like get a wild card spot? Like in AFC, NFC. Like there's going to be one. There's always one team every year.
Surprise everyone. Ooh,
Yeah.
I know who it could be. Going over to the AFC, Jacksonville Jaguars.
We never even talked about Nick Foles.
We didn't talk about Foles, except for a little bit. We talked about the Eagles. And all they really did in the offseason was get Foles. But, I mean, they pretty much, if you think about it, they still have a very similar team that they had when they went to the AFC Championship a couple years ago.
No. Well, they got rid of Dante. They got rid of Dante Fowler. They got rid of Deshaun Gibson, and I know they got rid of someone else too. But like their defense isn't as sturdy as it was. So I think they could definitely get a wild card, possibly.
I could see them because last year we don't really know what happened with them, but I could see them possibly getting back their footing this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if anyone is going to be the surprise team this year, it's going to be the Jags.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I trust Foles anywhere else but Philly.
My only other contender for surprise team is the Broncos. I could see them being a surprise team.
Flacco? With Flacco? You think they could do well with Flacco?
It's not just much as their offense.
Or that defense, though. That defense shirt up this offseason.
That defense is scary.
Yeah.
Top 5 defense for sure, maybe top 3. Their linebacking core is the best in the NFL.
This offseason, they got Bryce Callahan, who's pretty good. Kareem Jackson also. So you get two really...
Games.
Yep. A lot. You get 2 really good DBs. You get a pretty good offensive tackle. And Joe Flacco is like not the worst quarterback to trade
he's
for.
He's not bad. He's not great. He's good. Flacco's another one of those people that's hard to manage. But I do think, just at the end of the day, I think that the Broncos could be a surprise team. And they're a team that will have to evaluate as the season goes on to more accurately talk about them without sounding like we don't know what we're talking about. But I can see the Broncos and the Jags possibly being the only two contenders to be the surprise team of the year.
All right, let's end it here. Just kind of an idea. All right, what team we're just going to make really bold predictions here, okay? Who gets first overall pick in 2020 draft?
Dolphins. I already said it. Dolphins.
I'm going to say Lions.
Lions? The Lions are never the worst team except for when they were the worst team.
I could see it, though. Worst team, trade Stafford. I could see that. All right.
If you get rid of Stafford, they don't have anyone. No one. No one at all.
Good quarterback class. Good quarterback class next year. Get rid of them. Get something good. So if you get the number 1 overall pick, ship them.
Yeah.
All right. Now to end the podcast, let's just go bold prediction. Who wins the Super Bowl next year? Like very out there. Who wins?
Falcons.
Come on now. Be realistic.
I am being realistic.
Oh, come on.
I love the team, man. I can talk about why I think we're going to be good for a whole hour. I think the Falcons can do it. But if you want me to say another team,
please,
I will. Although I do strongly believe it'll be the Falcons.
Really?
I said the Patriots just because I'm tired of saying that the Patriots aren't going to do it because then they do it. So maybe if I say that they're going to do it, they're not going to do it. So Patriots are winning the Super Bowl. Ring number, I'm losing track at this point. How many rings do they have? 7?
This will be their 7th if they make it. I'm going to kind of go a little bit bold. This is a team you've liked. Los Angeles Chargers.
I liked them last year.
I could see
they
it.
Were my pick last year.
I could see it.
To lose the Super Bowl.
I could see it.
But
I could see it.
They lost too badly in the playoffs. I think that they have a hole that they don't know they have.
Yeah.
And I do like the Chargers, but again, I don't like the Chargers. So
yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for Beyond the Blitz. Look out for our next podcast. We're going to talk about the NFL draft. We're going to talk about Kyler Murray. We're going to talk about Dwayne Haskins, all the quarterbacks in that draft. We're also going to talk about the top 10 picks with those defensive tackles, that defensive line that's coming in. Oh, boy, that's a really good defensive line. So we're definitely going to look at the draft next time in our next podcast here on Beyond the Blitz.
Thank you. I have been Brandon.
And I have been Justin.
And this was Beyond the Blitz.